British Army, in its battle with the Provisional IRA, is embarked upon a major campaign of sealing and reinforcing the border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. Many cross-border roads have been dug up and blocked to prevent unauthorized access across the border. Traffic on other routes is strictly controlled by permanent vehicle checkpoints. This is a story of hardship and disadvantage caused to a border community by the implementation of this policy, meant to protect them from terrorism, but in reality is damaging the social and economic life of the area. The border between Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic is over 300 miles long. County Fermanagh is one of the areas adversely affected by border security. The village of Rosslea in the north is surrounded on 3 sides by the Irish Republic. 8 cross-border roads have been blocked, and movement on the remaining 2 routes is regulated by vehicle checkpoints. The natural border region of Rosslea is half in the north and half in the south. With the security network now dividing the region, the traditional movement of this community back and forward across the border has been curbed and restricted. After 20 years of separation, it is only annual events like this music festival that brings the community together. A mile and a half away on the outskirts of the village, the British Army moves into position, following a 2-day operation to secure the area from possible booby traps, to reclose Derryvollen Bridge, one of the main artery routes to the village from the Irish Republic. An Irish Army helicopter provides air cover, while Irish police guard all roads to the bridge on the south side to prevent terrorist attacks. This is the 30th time in the past 18 months the British Army has moved in to dig up and seal off Derryvollen Bridge. It was reopened by local people 6 weeks earlier because of the hardship and disadvantage caused by the closing of this road. Businessmen in particular are worried about the devastating effect this is having on the economy of the village.
We fear in the village, the business people fear, is that even if this was all sorted out in the morning, we would have a very big job in our hands to really bring people back, because, as I said, people go for convenience. They go to where they're used to shopping, and it's not convenient to shop or visit Rosslea, so they just go somewhere else, basically due to road closures.
Any potential custom from the south must now come through this checkpoint located on the perimeter of the village.
People in Northern Ireland have grown up with the security situation. We've grown up with soldiers on the streets, with armed policemen. We've got used to that. But you ask someone on the south, where life goes on as normal, to go through a vehicle checkpoint with armed soldiers. I mean, they're just not prepared to do that. I would say that my turnover would have dropped at least 40%. And I'm sure I'm speaking for all of the businesses in the village as well. If you take a business, or take any town, any thriving town, anywhere in England or Ireland or anywhere, and you have a border on 3 sides of it, I mean, you're taking business away from 3 sides. And I mean, can any city or village or town in England or Ireland do without that business? They just cannot. They cannot survive.
Southern trade to us was roughly 50%, maybe 60% of our business. Instead of travelling 2 or 3 mile to get to the shop here, they had to travel 18 mile of rounds to come through an army checkpoint and maybe sit a half an hour before they even come near the shop. And like, nobody wants to do that because number one, they haven't the time to spare. Number two, why go through that hassle just to get a few groceries or a few things like that there? So when they can't come the road, they want to come straight forward, they're not going to come at all. So we lose that business and we lose their valued custom. There's no sense in what they're doing. There's no explanation for what they're doing. Like, because they can't explain it themselves. Like, anytime we have ever asked them about it, it's orders. We have to do this. We don't want to do it, but we have to do it. But that's no explanation.
Some of the British taxpayers, the English taxpayers, came over here and seen the amount of money that's been spent for no reason in the world. There'd be a public outcry in England. No, because it's too ridiculous for words, actually. It's got to the stage now that if there's not a revision of the access roads and the roads being opened, it's going to have to be closed up. I'm going to have to close up because I'm not going to be fit to make a living. And it means rubbing out 6 years hard work here, building up a trade, and you just have to let the whole thing go and go somewhere else and start up again. Or else do like a whole lot of them sign on the door and let the government keep. That's the only prospects that I see here.
This barrier on the outskirts of Rosslea cuts off the town of Clones, 4 miles away in the Irish Republic. Access to Clones is now by travelling an alternative route of 14 miles, which is only passable through one of the vehicle checkpoints. Clones itself has also been devastated economically by the sealing off of the access roads to the town from the north. Traditionally, over 50% of its business would have come from Northern Ireland customers. Donald MacDonald is one of the businessmen badly affected by road closures.
I say that I'm chairman of the Development Society. It would be more like the Survival Society as far as this town is concerned. Because you're not doing away with something that has only recently been there, but you're doing away with a way of life. And you're driving more people to follow a road or a path that will lead to more problems being caused instead of less. God damn it, after all, this is the single Europe. This is the open Europe that we talk about. And you will find that the majority of the people living in this area voted for it. So that we're not talking about a town that is an El Paso. We're not talking about somewhere that is Dodge City. We're talking about a community of people that are anxious and serious. But what this has done, it has closed directly 20 to 25 businesses. It has lost over 80 service jobs in our town. It has driven more than 11% of the population elsewhere. Now, that is what we are solely and utterly against in this policy, because we feel that it is a policy made and enforced by people who neither live near, know or understand exactly what it's doing. You do not swat a fly with a sledgehammer, and this is what it's doing. It is affecting too many people, too many jobs, too many livelihoods.
The destruction of the road network in this region means that normal activities such as travel to work or to socialize in the area are disrupted. Even though the children on this school bus are living in Northern Ireland and go to school in Northern Ireland, they have to travel via vehicle checkpoints every day to get to school, in some cases up to 4 times a day, because of the complications caused by road closures near their homes. There are several freshwater lakes near Rosslea which are suitable for fishing and would normally attract fishing tourists to the area. Anyone wishing to fish in these lakes must now travel on foot or make long detours by car because the main access routes have been dug up and blocked.
Four and 2, 42. 1 and 8, 18.
Half of the people in this hall have had to make detours of up to 18 miles and come through vehicle checkpoints to be here this evening.
And on its own, number 2.
20 years of inconvenience has had a wearing down effect on the community. Many people who would have socialized freely on both sides of the border now rarely do so. Packy Johnson lives in Northern Ireland, but must pass through part of the Irish Republic to reach his only access road to the north. This was blocked in 1991, leaving him totally cut off from Northern Ireland by road.
We have to go around the whole world to get to any place. We've gone down the road. It's only 3 miles down the road here and we've 26 miles to go to it. We haven't seen a postman for over 2 years. And I don't think it's a great way of working, you know. There's no reason why we shouldn't be like anybody else, you know. We pay rates and we pay taxes and our car and try to keep going, you know. And we're supposed to be living in Northern Ireland and still we're cut off from Northern Ireland. It's just like the Berlin Wall, you know. There's no sense with it at all.
Just the biggest problem. You have to walk where you used to go in a car and that's it. And as you get older, you just don't walk and you don't go and you have to stay in the house. It's very, very isolated since you can't get a car and you can't. Unless the weather's very good, you just don't like walking across it. It's too much of an ordeal in bad weather. So the friends that used to come here from the south have stopped coming, and that's it.
Many farmers in the region have land on both sides of the border. The blocking of roads seriously hinders their daily work. Priscilla Cunningham's dairy herd is based south of the border. This herd depends on silage which he must bring from his other farm in the north. Normally this would be a round trip of 2 miles, but with road closures, it means a detour of 36 miles. Because of this hardship, he has created an illegal border crossing to carry on his work.
In order to get my silage made, I had to come to this. My neighbour here owns this land and asked permission to get through his field. And he very kindly let us come through the field, but as you can see, we're damaging the field, and I don't like having to do that, but I've no other option. And if it rains, we would have to stop, you know, we wouldn't get the silage done at all. We're not in the business of trying to break any laws or that, but we're trying to carry on our normal business, and when that's interfered with, we have to sort of take action that we can get our work done, you know. If it comes to the point where I'm unable to get the silage home across the border, I have to quit dairying. I have to retire and give up farming. It's getting very close to that stage now.
Mickey Flynn's land along the border has been excavated to prevent him crossing an unapproved route to his land in the south. Some of his livestock have drowned in these excavations.
I have 5 children myself, and you could hardly take them out around here at Hollandcase because that's the place they'll go to, into these deep holes, to play at them, look into see their faces in the water. And so if that was children, it'd be the same thing. They could drop in as well. There's big deep holes, 10, 12 foot deep. A lot of people around here, around about this part of the country, there's 5 or 6 different farmers around here, has land in the south, or even relations in the south, which has to go around the same detour as myself. But I think that I'm nearly worse off when I can look into my own land and see it so close to you and so far away at the same time. There you wouldn't have to think you'd have to sell out over the security forces, like coming and digging up your land and telling you what to do, Nelly, do you know?
To the army, Rosslea is a high-risk area. There have been several major terrorist attacks in recent years, which have continued despite road closures. Both the RUC and the army say that this is effective security. But local people protest that it serves no security purpose. They say it is politically motivated by the British government to appease politicians demanding harsh measures in so-called trouble spots.
What we can't understand is here why this particular area is sealed so tightly and other areas along the border are left wide open. This area here is represented by official unionist spokesman for security. The roads are all closed. You go then to South Armagh, which is represented by an SDLP nationalist councillor, or sorry, MP, and the roads are all open. While 10 years previous to that, the roads in South Armagh were closed and sealed when there was a unionist politician in power. So, I mean, people just look at that and they say, it's political.
It is obvious to the community here that this is not done for any security reason, because this is not security. I think it is recognised even by high-ranking members within the British Army that it is not security. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's not even remotely connected with security. It is a sick joke even to describe it as security. We would estimate that there's at least £1 million spent on this one, on Derravolan Bridge, sealing it off between men, machinery, helicopters and concrete bollards. There would be at least that, and it is a scandalous waste of public funds, and for what?
But it is unrealistic to believe that if you live in this part of the world that you do not have to have a security presence. But in having so, you must always take into account the views and attitudes of the people that live in, near or are affected by that policy. This does not. You must also have to take into account what are the long-term repercussions and effects of something like this. This does not. So you're not doing away just with terrorism as you perceive it to be, because it hasn't done that, but you're doing away with the livelihood, you're doing away with the contact, you're doing away with relationships.
You only have to look at Derravolan crossing. I mean, what else could you say about that? It's pure and wanton vandalism. Can anybody else say that in this day and age that is the only way to seal a border? To dig trenches 17 and 18 feet deep? To destroy areas of 4 or 5 acres of ground? I mean, that is not the way you seal a border and win the hearts and minds of people.
As road closures go on, stalemate has set in the border between the local community and the authorities. For 20 years, protests and representations have been made to the British government to adopt a less punitive approach to the security problem on the border. These protests have been ignored. As a result, local people have decided to take the law into their own hands. Local farmer Francis Rooney is coordinator of an anti-road closure committee set up to protest against the Army's campaign. His committee is responsible for reopening Derryvollen Bridge 30 times in the past 18 months.
As far as we're concerned, we have went to the law, we have approached the law, and we've tried all means through the law of getting the road reopened, which we feel is our right to have opened. And seeing that we're getting nothing done there, we feel that we have to take the law into our own hands. People, security forces may feel that that is what we are doing, breaking the law, but we don't feel we're breaking the law. We feel that we are exercising our democratic right to have the road opened.
3 days after the Army dug up Derryvollen Bridge, the local action committee moves into place to fill in the road for the 31st time. Up to 40 people are involved in this operation, which will take only 2 hours. Because this group is acting illegally, lookouts on the surrounding hills watch for any security force patrols that may be in the area. In the past, the Army has tried to seize the bulldozer and digger which was purchased by the community for its ongoing protest against the destruction of this road.
Common sense would tell us that the board is 300 miles long and that tires can cross at any given point in the border if they feel they want to get across it. So we feel we still argue our case that closing the road will not stop these attacks, and we still argue our point that the road has been closed for political reasons, not for security reasons.
As far as I can see, take any road within England itself, and if 500 French soldiers landed over to England and blocked off roads, I'm certain sure English people would fight. So like, they've got to understand that we'd do the same, and we'll have to try and do something, but we're not getting anywhere, we're not getting any support. Politicians don't care, so we just have to keep on struggling away ourselves. Maybe when the chance comes up, open the road up and try and... It's been deemed as illegal to open up a road, but your human rights aren't illegal. I don't care what anybody says.
While the threat of terrorism along the border remains, the British Army looks set to continue its present security strategy. In its wake, it has left local people isolated and forgotten. As long as the British government is unwilling to implement a security policy that not only counters the terrorist threat, but also considers the people living along the border, this community will remain trapped between the Provisional IRA on one side and the British Army on the other.
All we can do is keep battling our corner, and I can assure people that it will not die, because if you're caught in a trap that we are caught in here, I mean, you just fight to get out of it.
And if it means that we have to bring the British government to the European Court on this particular issue, we will do so. We have already begun proceedings in relation to this, and we feel that under the Single European Act we have a very, very strong case.
Somebody sitting in Whitehall or sitting in England might think that we're a small bunch of farmers fighting the might of the British Army. But as I say, we're not. We'll not be brown-baiting. We'll continue to do what we think is right.
We like to keep our roads open, which is all right. And if they come again, the same thing's going to happen again.